10 years of Geometry Dash history in 10 minutes.
Ready? Go!
Starting off with the year of our Lord, 2013. Geometry Dash was released on August 13th as an indie, mobile rhythm platformer game, and brings a new challenge to the gaming industry. Many people saw it as a ripoff of the Impossible game, and to them I say, can you fly in the Impossible game? Didn't think so. The game itself is nice and simple, with 7 challenging levels that stand in your way. You have to defy the odds and make it to the end of each and every one of them. Or not, if that's not your forte. There's also this thing called a level editor that may or may not prove to be useful later down the line. You aren't missing much. It's not like this game will become one of the best mobile games of all time. Or will it? Welcome to 2014. This was a big year for Geometry Dash. Firstly, the game is now on Steam, so now if you're really down with playing on a supercomputer, you can totally do that. Want to use a monitor instead of your old phone? Now you can. It's not like that playing on a PC is more advantageous than using an iPad anyway. I mean, the game is centered around the mobile users, so there should be no distinguishable differences in gameplay. There were other new updates to the game that added more content, and in total, there are now 18 total levels, and a variety of new game modes for you to constantly scratch your head about. Did you know that you can play Flappy Bird in Geometry Dash? Well, now you can. Want to use songs that aren't the same old boring ones used in the main levels? Well, now you can. The community is at its absolute peak with hundreds of talented level creators. Funny Game's name rose onto the creating scene in 2014, and many call him the most revolutionary creator in the history of the game. This year also saw the rise of many new, still recognizable content creators that suffer for our own enjoyment. It's beautiful! If you're feeling especially brave, you can try and complete some of the hardest user-made levels in the game, which many people call straight up impossible. Who are they to make accusations? It's not like all the hardest levels in the game are hacked. You have to complete them before uploading them after all. There's even a level called Silent Clubstep that literally everyone thinks is impossible. Come on now, isn't that just Clubstep without the music? Ah, I see. It's now 2015. This year saw the rise and fall of some of the best Geometry Dash players known to man. After over 20,000 attempts, the pro player Riot completed a level known as BLOODBATH that may or may not have changed hard levels forever.
Oh my god!
An up-and-coming player by the name of Andromeda was catching up to him quickly though. Maybe a little bit too quickly. There was also Cyclic, who became an early victor of Cataclysm and made his own level to rival BLOODBATH, known as Sonic Wave. But what about making levels for the sake of being impossible? That's what Nubes did, with his creation of SAKUPEN Hell. Nubes was an incredibly skilled player, or so people thought, until he too was exposed. I mean, at 100% speed, does this really look possible to you? And you can't talk about 2015 without talking about Update 2.0, which came out after a 9-month wait. Hopefully these long wait times for major updates don't become a norm in the coming years. The update brought us moving objects! If you thought the playing scene was intense in 2015, 2016 will blow that away. Several iconic moments from this year are still talked about today. Remember BLOODBATH? It went unbeaten by anyone else for a total of 9 months, until Quasar finally put it to rest in a race against Surv, another up-and-coming player. Remember when Sonic Wave was a thing? It was finally verified by Sunix. Wait, didn't Cyclic beat it? Oh, makes sense. Yeah, turns out Cyclic was a hacker as well, which goes to show just how dominant of a player Riot was back in 2015 and early 2016. But he was finally getting some competition that didn't have to cheat to reach the top. On August 14th, an unknown player at the time named Trusta would be the first to complete SAKUPEN Hell by Nubes. Wait a second, wasn't this impossible? Well, turns out people just love to complete old impossible levels. I've got a feeling that this isn't going to be the only time we're going to see an old impossible level beaten. But it's not going to happen in 2017, because at the start of the year, RobTop released Update 2.1. Wait a second, he's releasing it now? It's been 18 months! 2.1 added so many new editor mechanics that there's now so much more potential in the editor. From new triggers, block designs, dash orbs, and everyone's favorite game mode, the spider. Oh, and also this cool new level called Yatagarasu got verified by that Trusta guy. This happened just before Update 2.1 dropped, and many considered Yatagarasu to be the catalyst for the update. Maybe it'll become the next BLOODBATH, and go unbeaten for 9 months to make every player who even thinks about it, oh, it's already been beaten. Twice. Riot was mostly out of the picture, and Sunix began his reign as the best player in the game. But in the rearview mirror, a Dutch player you might know by the name of Knobbelboy was exploding onto the scene. He was in the process of making the most ambitious level in the entire game, known as ASTRAL DIVINITY. He was also a very skilled player, with the next hardest level in his hands known as BLOODLUST, a remake and extension of BLOODBATH, which aimed to be the hardest level ever created. He died at 98% on June 9th, and then verified the level shortly after. in 2018. Bloodlust is all the talk on the street. It was seemingly the catalyst for Update 2.2, like Yadagrassi was for Update 2.1. However, it wasn't meant to be. Maybe the update will get released later this year, or next year at the worst. 2018 wasn't all that eventful for the gamer community, honestly, since the majority of all the big levels were already released. But we did get the Devil Vortex Saws meme this year, so that's an instant W in my books. 2019 proved to be a much more eventful year. We saw the rise of several content creators that we all know and love today. A growing player with great reactions by the name of nPesta verified a level known as Deimos, which was the sequel to an old impossible level known as Phobos. We'd also see ZODIAC released around this time, taking down Bloodlust and becoming the new hardest level in the game. Another rising player by the name of Technical became the first person to legitimately complete the hardest level. He and his good friend nPesta took over the community by storm. Technical rose to the top of the player charts and capped off 2019 with winning the best player category in the 2.1 awards. And nPesta wasn't done completing levels either. After verifying WoW by Trusta, a unique spam-based level, he set out to verify Kinos, a remake and extension of SAKUPEN Hell, like Bloodbath to Bloodlust. It took him 8 months, but he finally closed the door on the level on December 14th, and left us with the most iconic reaction in Geometry Dash history. And then came 2020. It started off with the verification of Riot's old impossible level known as Tartarus, which took the reins from ZODIAC as the hardest level in the game. Just weeks later, we saw the world shut down with the pandemic. However, the social distancing and lockdowns allowed for more time inside to play games, and as a result, 2020 turned into the most productive year for the game yet. We don't have a lot of time to go over all of it, but we saw some of the best content ever produced.
Are you a helicopter?
No.
Oh.
And the rise of nSwish. New projects were being created left and right. Ocular Miracle, a level of over 800,000 objects, was finally finished and verified by Technical. I wish I had more time to talk about 2020, but to keep pace, we're going to move on to 2021. We haven't talked about high-end levels enough, and it would take too long to name off all of them, but we saw so many good ones this year, and it'd be a shame to leave them unnoticed. With 360Hz bypass now being allowed for completions, the skill levels of players across the board rose like crazy, and Tartarus was bested 3 times in this year alone. SpaceUK was the obvious choice for the best player this year, but there was a healthy amount of competition at the top as well, which was a breath of fresh air. The levels got better, and the playing field got better. Very good year for the game. And that brings us to 2022, and oh boy what a year it was. Right at the start we got white space. I mean, just look at this. Is this even Geometry Dash anymore? The World Godlike contest happened, which gave us over a dozen of the best levels in the game has ever seen. You can't forget about what Mindcap produced this year either. Collab level tells a very intriguing story, and you can't forget about Limbo either. Storming Summit, despite being released at the end of last year, got most of its coverage this year, and I mean, this is an awesome crossover between 2 popular platformer games. So many content creators broke out this year, and the player scene has been the most exciting it's ever been. Acheron, the brother level to Tartarus, was verified in August, and is currently the hardest level in the game. But the biggest storyline of this year in my mind has to be the verification of the most famous impossible level of all time. Yeah, turns out, silent clubstep isn't just quiet clubstep after all. It's very loud, and also very difficult. The community is as alive as ever, and it's moving forward at a breakneck speed. And that takes us to today. 2023 is only a week old at the time of making the script, but I can guarantee that this is going to be an awesome year for the game. Maybe, just maybe, we'll finally see the release of Update 2.2. We're coming up on 6 years since the release of 2.1, and the community is still moving forward, even reaching peak numbers just a few months ago. We may see continued growth of skill in the community. Maybe one day we'll see Bloodlust fall off the demon list entirely, just like how BLOODBATH did in early 2021. But the most exciting aspect of the future is the potential for so many groundbreaking levels to be released, pushing the level editor to the absolute limits. We may see the rise of new types of content creators who represent the faces of the community. The past 10 years of history have built up to this year. Levels used to look like this, and now we're constantly getting our minds broken with what new possibilities are out there for creators. While some argue that Update 2.2 may throw the game into chaos, it will definitely help out the game in the long term, after being deprived of a major content update for over half of its lifespan. It's incredible how Geometry Dash has withstood the test of time. Now, we can reach for the stars in the new year.